time? Well, I guess a procedure would go something like this. If there's an empty lane and it's manned, then select that lane. Else, select the lane with the shortest queue. Well, if there's more than one lane with the shortest queue, then select that lane where the people have the smallest number of goods in their baskets. It's quite complex and you might get it wrong, and it doesn't account for how fast the teller is. Well, fortunately, I'm lucky this time. Hello. Well, that was pretty easy. And one thing's absolutely for certain. It'll be a long time before you see any damned robot able to do it. It's a great game. Absolutely marvellous. I know somebody who plays it with a very low technology pack of cards. Well, that game was written by Ian Trackman, and he's written most of the programmes both in this series and the previous series of the computer programme. Ian, how do you go about writing a long programme?
There's three parts to writing a programme: analysis, design and coding. Analysis means working out what you want the programme to do. In this case, what are the rules of patience? When you write a commercial programme, very important, what does the client want out of the computer? When you've worked out what is wanted, you then move on to the design stage. Design, well, besides simply designing the screen, it also means working out the parts of the program, breaking it down into these logical blocks. That's what we call structuring, structured programming. Only when you've done that, then, can you move on to coding, and that is typing in the words in BASIC, whatever language we're using, as we've been seeing in the little programs.
Well, how long is the BASIC? Is this patience program?
Well, I've got here a listing of the program that I've taken off the printer, and it's a reasonably sized program for a microcomputer. There. And let's go back. The interesting part of it is actually the beginning here, because there's the main part of the program, and I've marked with these red lines the procedures, the blocks, logical blocks that I've broken the program down into, and there's about 20 or so of them. The main part of the program calls a few of those procedures, and they in turn call other procedures. And for instance, here's one, I've called it proc bell. That's the one that makes a noise when you turn a card over or you make an illegal move, something of that sort.
So it starts with defined procedure bell, it goes through till it ends procedure, and every time you refer to procedure bell, it goes to that and runs it for you.
That's right, and then it gets to this end proc. When it gets to end proc, it goes back to wherever it was called from and carries on with the rest of the program.
I see, yes. Well, what's the difference between good programming and bad programming?
First of all, as far as the programmer is concerned, a good program is one that is well structured, it's well laid out, it's easy to follow, it's easy to find the bugs, and particularly again in a commercial program, if the client wants it changed, how easy is it to go back to it and make a change to it? And then the other part of the answer is, from the user's point of view, what's a good program? Well, it must be a program, first of all, that you want. I mean, as you quite rightly said, with patience, you've got to decide you want to play it on a computer, or should you just play it with a pack of cards in any event. And then it's got to be easy to put information into the program off the keyboard or whatever we're using. It's got to be easy to see what's going on, and the output, the presentation, has got to be clear and helpful.
And it shows the difference.
Well, again, here I've written a couple of programs. The first one is a good program, and let me put that into the computer now. We'll load it up. First thing is it sets out the screen nicely. It asks, would you like to see the rules of the game? Please press Y or N. Well, I'll explain the rules to you, so we won't press yes. Just before I do, though, let me just show you. If you press K or F or S or anything else, it's refusing it. So we'll press no, and we're straight into the game. It's a very simple little game. We throw dice on the screen and press to stop. The dangerous throw is 2. That means we keep on playing until we hit another 2 or we decide to stop. If we hit another 2, we lose all the score in that round. So at the moment the computer is playing, let me think, it says, yes, Let me think. Again, it's going to have another throw. Again, it's going to have another throw. It's decided it's going to take its chances here.
Well, it's throwing a 2 and the chance of throwing a 2 is very low.
Yes, so we'll let it go on for a long
Yes.
time. It will continue running. Eventually it will decide to stop, and then it's our go. So the important thing about this is it's well presented, it's interesting to play, it looks good. Let's compare that, shall we? I've also written the same program, but I've tried to write it as badly as I can. So we'll stop that, and let's load in the bad version of that program.
Was that more difficult to write than the good version?
About as difficult. Look at this. The first thing is it didn't even clear the screen. It's got instructions down the bottom of the screen here. Well, let's see what happens if I type in Y, expecting instructions. It doesn't give that to me.
Straight into playing the game.
Because, well, I've put in the program, it will only accept YES, but there's no clue to that on the screen. Straight into the program. Still, look at this. It's no space between round and 1. It's messy. Well, we'll say, yes, we will have more. And look, it's a horrible mess. I mean, I wouldn't play that at all. Just no good at all.
What about in the writing of the program itself? How would they differ?
Again, we would break down the good program into these procedures we've been talking about, so the whole thing is set out logically. Here's the listing of this bad program. Now, it's fairly short, but then who wants a short program that's rubbish? What I've done here, I've joined together all the different routes the program can take, and you can see that's a terrible mess, ever so difficult if we have a bug, a mistake in it, to find out where it's going wrong. And this, for obvious reasons, we call spaghetti programming.
If you have a bug in a structured program, you know it's in one particular procedure, so you can go to that procedure and correct it. In that, it would be a nightmare to try and sort out just what
it would
happened.
take me probably longer to find a bug in this than it would in the big, well-written program.
So have you got 3 tips for somebody of how you write a good long program?
Yes. First of all, decide what you're going to write. Then decide how you're going to write it, and only then get on and put it onto the keyboard.
Thank you, Ian. Well, as we've seen, modern computers can not only do calculations and handle words, they can also display graphics. Well, next time, we'll begin a look at the world of computer graphics and animation.